Hey guys, welcome back to the channel here. We're going to do a quick video on the XR200. I'm going to replace the clutch on this now. It just came in the mail and just got the brake pedal out of the way here and just seeing what I got to do to get the cover off. I'm just noticing how it looks like I'm missing a bolt there. But anyways, I got it cleaned up a little bit here around the mating surface here for the side cover. And we're going to get these bolts out. Get the clutch out, and the clutch I bought was just a I think it's Centric brand. Let me look here real quick. It's the same set I got for the 83 that I did. Caltric, that's what it is. And it comes with the pressure plates and the friction plates along with springs and a new gasket for the side cover too. So like I was saying, this is the same kit I got for the 83 right there, and it worked really well on that. So I'm expecting it to do the same for this. Also noticing this right here, looks like that might have been repaired at one point. So that might be where the oil, because I got a little bit of an oil leak under here. It might be where it's coming out. So kind of wondering what other surprises we're gonna find once we get this off. We'll get the oil filter, the centrifugal oil filter taken out, cleaned up too, see what kind of junk's in there. And might have to see what's involved with replacing this right here, since that is bent. I don't want to hook up the decompression just yet until I get a replacement for that. Really hasn't been a problem though, but I'm going to focus on this clutch and oil filter in here now. So let's get started. Okay, I'm going to start with getting the guard out of the way here. We already got the brake pedal out, and then I'll remove the kickstarter here too, along with the cable here for the clutch. Just let that flop down there. All right, now I'm ready for the little 8mm bolts that come out. And I got my little engine diagram, so I know where each bolt's gonna go. I'm just gonna stick it right in the cardboard, so there's no guesswork on putting it back together. I didn't drain my oil, but I do have an oil pan underneath here because and the last bolt. Okay, like I said, I'm just missing this one right here. So now, we can try to crack this egg. Looks like a fairly new gasket that's on there, a green one. Probably when they're, I'm assuming, repairing this right here, they probably had it apart. Yep, here comes the oil. Here it comes. Guess we're changing oil. Probably a good idea anyway. All right, I think we got enough oil out of it. Pull this thing off here. And we're just gonna rip this gasket off since we got a new one. It does look like it was fairly new. Looks pretty clean in there. A little bit of sludge at the bottom. It's probably some clutch material built up on there, but nothing crazy. So this thing definitely took a hit or something. They welded some aluminum in there, magnesium, whatever this is. Patched that up. It's actually a pretty decent job. I don't think it's leaking there. You can see it's all discolored, so yeah, I don't think it's leaking right there. They did a pretty decent job, it looks like. Wonder if that whole bottom part chipped off. And right there you can kind of see. Maybe not, I don't know. It's still working though, so we're gonna roll with it. It looks like we gotta get the oil filter off first before we can get to the plates, because this is blocking that. So let me get a screwdriver on these. And I think that does not pop out. Yeah, this cover has to come off first. I was gonna have to use an impact on this, but these are coming loose pretty easily. The seal looks pretty good still. You can see a lot of built up, probably old clutch material and stuff from over the years, right in there too. Yeah, look at that. We'll get that all cleaned out. Yeah, it's probably been a while since that's been cleaned, if ever. There's a special tool you need to get this lock nut off of here, and it's basically 4 notches that I made a socket that'll fit there, and I'll show you here in a second. But it fits right in there, and then once you pop that off, this whole unit will come off. I'll be able to clean that up a little better. This here's the socket that I cut and modified to fit that. They make the tool for that too, but I was kind of in a pinch when I was doing the 83, and I had a socket that was just the right size to fit in there, and probably use an impact to pull that off. But here, I'll show you a closer look at what that looks like, and so you get an idea. You can see the 4 notches around that. So the socket that I used, in case you're wondering, is just an old Craftsman. Looks like the 13th, 16th fits in there just right and is the right size for that. So it was a little tedious to shave that down to get in there to fit, but once it was in, it worked out pretty well. Okay. That's got a washer behind it too. So we'll get this cleaned up, and we'll throw it back on, and we're ready to put it back together. Next up, I'm going to loosen up these bolts here, and we'll start taking the clutch pack out. Just do this in a crisscross fashion so it comes off evenly. I'll get my calipers and measure these springs just to see if they are out of spec, but I'm going to replace them anyway since I got new ones in that kit. So here, whoa, look at that. That was loose on there. Wow. I didn't touch this one. This one requires that tool as well. But this one was really loose. This one's also got a washer behind it. should be able to remove the cover here. You know, there is a washer behind that as well, so keep tabs on that when you're taking that apart. Okay, let's get a look at these plates here. Just gonna slip that back on right there for now. These don't look bad at all. And check the spring measurements on there. I'm going to consult the manual to see what the tolerances are for those. But these plates look really good, actually. I wonder if it's just the springs or maybe because that thing wasn't tightened down on there correctly. All right. Let me look at the manual real quick and get a look and see what these springs are supposed to be measured at. According to the manual, the clutch spring minimum length should be 34.7 millimeters, and these are well within spec. At least this one is. I'm going to check the other ones too. This is 38.5. Let's look at another one here. 38.9. 39, 38.8, and the last one, make sure we're even here, 38.8. So the springs are good. I'm going to check the ones that came in the kit, just brand new ones to compare them with that, and see what kind of measurements we get on this. I'll end up using whatever ones have more tension on them, I think. There's a new one here. Reading 39.4 on that one. There's another new one. 39.6. So yeah, we're going to use the new ones just because they're going to have more tension on them. And we are still going to replace the clutch friction plates and steels just because they're new. The ones that came out don't necessarily look bad. I can measure the friction plates here too, just to get an idea. Zero this out. See, I'll have to see what they're supposed to be at, but so there's 2.6, and according to manual, the minimum thickness should be 2.6. So we're right at the edge. So yeah, we are going to replace these. They probably did need it. And I'll just put all new stuff in. In case you were wondering too, I do have the new plates have been soaking in oil. I'm just kind of move them around in here. Just using the bag that they came in. There's a pretty good seal on it, so just letting that soak before we put them in. Basket's in pretty good shape too. Sometimes you get these ridges that build up. Makes it harder to shift. But these ones are just a little bit notched. Not too bad. And when I was riding it was shifting fine. So I'm not even going to bother trying to file those down. So they're not in bad shape. I'll start cleaning these parts off now, but just wanted to show you how much gunk actually builds up in these things. I mean, that's probably all clutch material. It does a pretty good job of grabbing it all in there. I'll just scrape this off. Get some brake cleaner. And look at that. I'm going to clean the rest of that up. I'll bring you back here in a second. One thing to take note of when you're cleaning the mating surface up is there's oil passages all through here. So you got this one here, there's a little, you can see it in the back there. Oil passage there, there's oil passages on the case. In particular this one here that will push oil up through. And I think that either puts it into the, pretty sure it either puts it into the centrifugal filter and goes up top. So you don't want to plug those up, obviously. You're gonna make sure that's all cleaned out. You'll fry your top end, clogging up the important oil passages that go and deliver the oil up to the cam. And yeah, I've seen it happen on one of my buddy's bikes, an XL175. A little different than this, but it had too much sealer on it. Someone used too much sealer on the top end, and they clogged up the passages going to the valves and the rockers and the cam and everything, and fried the top end. So if you're doing this, just make sure these are all cleaned up. Also got the oil filter, the centrifugal filter, cleaned up, and that's ready to go back together. First, we got to put the clutch basket on and the clutch plates and everything too. So we'll start on that next. Okay, it's gonna go on first. The washer's behind that, in case you were wondering. I did double check that. Thinking maybe whoever had this part forgot to put one back there, but there's no washers there. Next up, this blind washer is gonna go on there. And next, I can slip this on, but I'm going to actually put the clutch plates on the clutch pack here all together and just put it in as one unit. Once they're in, they'll slip right into here, and then you can put this whole thing on. Yeah, like that. So when you're putting the plates on here, you start with a friction disc, then a steel plate, then another friction disc, and a steel plate. And just keep alternating them back and forth. Okay, then you kind of line these up. Once we go to put it back into the clutch basket, and we should be able to just do that with this whole unit. All right, next up, you're going to grab that washer that's got outside written on it. You can see that right there. That's going to go on here next. And then that lock nut. The one that was really loose when I pulled that off. All right, so the book shows this should be torqued down to 33 foot-pounds. And it needs a special tool to hold this in place, which I don't have. So I'm just going to use a impact on the light setting and just kind of gently put this down. I don't want to crank down on it too hard, but it does need to be fairly tight at 33 foot-pounds. It definitely was not at that when I took it apart. Okay, we're going to put the new springs in. Whoopsie. Clean that one off. the plate here with the bearing. Just gonna get some oil into this bearing. It's been sitting out. Probably doesn't need it, but I figure while it's out, might as well. All right, just gonna go around on those with my 10 millimeter and just kind of do it in a crisscross fashion so that goes together evenly. Okay, the book doesn't show any torque specs for these 4 bolts, but you don't want to go too tight because it's just going into aluminum. So as long as they're snug, you don't want to torque them down too much. It'll just rip right through those threads on the on that aluminum. And then this will go on right here. Like that. And this is where you have another one of those washers that say outside. Make sure that's on the outside of this. And another one of these lock nuts. And just gonna get my socket, homemade tool, and just kind of thread it down on there before I put any kind of torque to it. I'm just going to do the same thing here with the filter cover. All right, now we can put the cover on. Just tighten these down. Give them a little tap with the impact screwdriver just to make sure they're snug. Very light tap, you don't want to go too hard on them. Going into aluminum. Using rubber mount there too. All right, I think we're all set. I'm going to put the gasket on here next. Got that cleaned up as much as I can. Just some residue of excess old material on there that's smooth, but it's just discolored on the metal, so I think we're good to go there. Let me go grab that next. Before I continue on, I wanted to show you the auto decompression shaft here that goes in. I see now why it wasn't hooked up. So this piece right here that's supposed to go on there had a big chunk missing. And that piece is supposed to have like a, not an arm, but it's supposed to stick out quite a bit and have a spring attached to it. By the looks of the parts diagram. So that's all missing, and I was able to get that screw out of there too. Looks like the screw, or the bolt probably broke off on the other side here. So I just have one in there temporarily. And I was all excited. I was thinking, okay, I could just throw it back together and get a bolt and hook it up from the outside here with the decompression arm and cable and stuff, but I will have to probably open this up again eventually, so when I find this piece I can throw that in here and have that all work on the internal side too, because I think it's supposed to hook onto this little tab right here if I'm not mistaken. I remember doing it on my 83, and that one has all the stuff there working, so I'll have to look at it again, but it's missing pieces, so I'm not going to get that working just yet, but we're just going to throw this back together and run it as it is. So because I know I'm going to have to take the side cover off again, I'm just going to put a very, very light coating of grease on here just so it doesn't stick, so I can try to save it the next time I pull that off. When I go to fix that auto decompression mechanism there. So just a very, very light coat. usually do it. Done it on a bunch of other bikes and never had an issue leaking or anything, so I think if you do it light enough, it's okay. So we're lined up. You got my case mating surface here all cleaned up. And one thing to keep in mind when you're slipping this on here, you might have to kind of turn the clutch lever a little bit so that this opens up just enough for the for that to slide into here to push on this here. So, because if you just leave it like this, you kind of get stuck and you're like wondering why it's not going in. Just kind of give it a little push and then it should pop on. There's also this here for the kickstart the auto decompression, which normally, like I said, I don't have all the parts for this because it's broken, but there's a spring in there and everything that there's a way to calibrate it with the Kickstarter shaft itself. There's a little mark there, and I'm not going to do that right now, obviously, because I don't have it, but keep in mind when you're doing that, you might want to look at the manual and look at the process for that as well. Just going to flip this on here. Couple taps here with the hammer. There we go. Okay, we are seated all the way around. That looks good. So now I'm just going to start working in the bolts on here and get them tightened down. We'll get the clutch cable adjusted up here once we're ready to try it out. But that's pretty much it. We got it bolted up. Just going to get the Kickstarter back on and the brake back on there and the engine guard. Okay, clutch is good to go there. All right, that's going to do it for a clutch replacement on an XR200. You see, it wasn't so bad. It's pretty straightforward. It does help to have that special tool for the lock nut that goes that holds the oil filter on here, and then the clutch basket too. So if you're going to do this, make sure you have one of those handy or made up already. And yeah, I just got the oil draining out. Just going to flush it out one more time, whatever was left in there, and we'll get it filled back up, back in the woods. So stay tuned for that next video on this bike. It's going to be on my trails, putting it through its paces a little better than the first one. And I got the wheel bearings to go in. So she's going to be solid. So pretty soon you'll see that. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment if you could. Hit the little bell notification so you know when the next video comes out on this bike. Like I said, I'll have it in the woods soon, and you'll get to see it riding on my trails soon. So thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.